up, though, world? It's your man, Jay Legs, and you're back rocking with the Culture Cure. I appreciate you tuning in. What's good, family? How you doing? All right. Good. What's good? What's good? Oh, we got a special guest. How you doing?
Don't be like that.
No, you know.
You missed 1 week.
Tip just back in, you know.
You act like you getting paid for real.
We
right.
We can't. I want to jet set too. But we'll get to that.
Okay.
Ladies, how y'all doing?
Pretty good.
How's your week?
Busy.
Busy?
Busy, fast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, you busy too?
I'm good.
Can't hear you say something.
Shut up. I just want to give a disclaimer. I now have a liner, so excuse my list. That's all I'll say about that.
A liner? What's a liner?
It's for straightening my teeth. Oh, just keep listening, because I struggled with SH yesterday. Like, just keep listening.
This guy said that in one of our meetings downtown. He was like, FYI.
Yeah, because I already know how we are, and so let me get that out the way right now.
With your mouth.
Get that out the way right now.
I'll be the first one like, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
How's your week?
It's actually pretty good. A little lighter, you know, a little breezy.
You're a little lighter.
Yeah, I'm a little lighter.
You have a colonoscopy?
Oh,
yeah.
You know, black men.
That's
you know,
what I would.
Definitely something you need.
If somebody says I feel lighter, you know, like
something was
you
cleansed.
lost something.
So
like,
wait, time out. So lighter for you is anal play.
Oh,
Whoa.
why did you come?
Why does it have to be anal play?
Because that's what it is. Like,
no,
you
it's not. That is a
A
medical.
colonoscopy is
taking the
not.
camera and you playing back there. You ain't doing nothing. You need.
Oh, real quick before we even move forward, so
That's
you
not
don't
fun.
plan on ever getting one in your lifetime.
We'll think about it.
We'll think about
You
it.
know, like adults.
We'll think about it.
You know, adults. All
We
adults should get colonoscopies
will
after a certain age.
Think about it.
50.
We'll think about it. By that time, I mean,
Your
whatever.
medical health is
Keep
important.
playing if you want to.
Whatever.
And
However,
you black? I think whatever you are.
we're not gonna talk about what you are. Fucking
Cuban
black.
doll.
But I'm not.
My word.
Wait, let me get this straight. So you are allowed to say these things on air, but I can't say. Never mind. I can't. I don't want to even repeat what I said when everybody got offended. But you just called me a what?
I don't know. Sure.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, I didn't even hear what he said. If it
I
was
was joking.
Yeah, I think.
Should I say the disclaimer that the Culture Cure does not?
What did-
What did I say?
okay.
Move on.
Tiff,
Okay.
how have you been?
Well, we'll get into that because that's a whole situation. Let's introduce the guest that we have here good real quick. What up, Lee? How you doing today? You all right?
I'm good, man. I'm sorry.
Appreciate you coming in, man.
Appreciate it. I was here early.
You work. I mean, you know, it's better to be on. What is it? How it go?
To be
To be
early
early
is to be on time. To be on time is to be late.
It's funny how
To
you
be
said
late
that.
is unacceptable.
You wanted to know.
Funny
I
how you
know.
said that.
Look.
It was like you
We gotta
set her
talk
up
about
for
this
that.
I did.
Africa
Bro.
trip.
Huh?
We gotta talk about this Africa trip.
Oh, okay. So let's get to Africa trip. So,
Are you in there?
Why did you guys
So
go?
Tim, you know, let us live vicariously through you.
I just came back from it.
Whoa.
I could make so many jokes right now, but
That was intentional. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just came back from Africa, Cairo, Egypt to be exact, and it was.
First class too.
Oh.
Don't believe it. I was in the regular folks section. Nobody sat next to me on all 4 plates.
Oh.
One of
Wow.
four.
Wow, 4?
it's 4, 2 to get there,
it's
2
two
to
there,
come
two
back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it was an amazing.
You're
experience.
glowing.
It's like it's the only way. It was rough. Don't let me get you wrong. It was a hard trip.
Oh, yeah, that's 24 hours.
No, not just getting there. Like the language barrier is extremely hard. We were lied to at every turn. Like
About what?
everything. Like everything. They're obviously, you know, our money is worth more there. They're having a very hard time there because tourism is their number one, you know, money maker, and people is the Middle East. Americans ain't really trying to go to the Middle East. The country is outrageously beautiful. The people are beautiful. Like, we met random people on the street who didn't speak our language, and we were being followed by this little boy who, he's like a teenager, who wanted money and food. No, like for blocks, we kept saying no. His friend came and like slapped him so hard. I was like, God damn. And then that didn't stop him though. So now a lady on the street got involved. So like people we didn't even know, had no knowledge of trying to help us and protect us. It was just, people were kind.
Did you stick out like that?
Okay, first off, I went there thinking that I was going to be like, if you read the blogs, they make it seem like you're going to be called out of your name, if they're not welcoming. First off, I was the man.
I figured you would say that, yeah.
Like, oh, my color, what's up?
That's what's up.
I was called brown sugar, black sugar, brownie, like my sister, any name that has some type of color to it, like they called me. They were like, even when I had to like get grim with them, like, okay, no, stop, get away. They were still kind in that, you know. It was, I don't know. It was an amazing experience. I recommend going to anybody. Go experience that part of the world and just see that it's not what TV or the media makes it out to be. It was.
How long were you there?
I was there, 6 days? And then I spent a little bit of time in Paris before I got there.
Okay. Bringing back handbags and whatnot.
You know, I mean.
Something slight.
I was a nigga in Paris.
Oh my gosh.
What do you expect?
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
How was the food?
The food was really good. Yeah, it wasn't earth shattering. It was like, oh my God, I have to have it again. But the food was really good. I never got sick at any point. I smoked shisha. They call hookah shisha there. I don't smoke hookah at all here. I used to, and it would make me sick every time I did it. Shisha there. I don't know what y'all smoking here. I don't know what type. Let me tell you, the shisha there was just like, oh, I could do this every day.
Did you get high or you just felt like extremely calm?
It's a high, like real chill, just feeling. It was only one night because we really weren't. We were working on a few hours of sleep and we really weren't eating like we were supposed to, eating or drinking at all because it was just like go time. Like, okay, we got this to do, and that to do. But we would do the shisha every night. It was only one time I did it where I'm like, I don't have to have this. And it was dirt cheap. So one night we paid 30 Egyptian pounds for shisha. And
what's that in US dollars?
$2,
no, like 60-something cents.
Oh wow, it's like that.
It was dirt cheap. It was so cheap. The only thing is we couldn't. The hotel we stayed in Giza, where I met my Egyptian king. He owned the place, and like,
he owned the place.
He owned it. Like, he really was. He's the man. Like, I went to like go grab something off the table. He pulled me like, don't touch nothing. He started speaking that stuff to them people.
That stuff.
They came and opened the water. My stuff was like literally across the table. I just changed seats, and he wouldn't let me pick up. No,
this was on y'all date, or
this was like, I don't even know if it was a date. I brought my friend with me everywhere I went. Like, I don't know what you want, but
you can have it.
No.
That's basically what it is. Take whatever you want from me.
Her dad's probably listening.
Right. No, but I even told my dad about him because he like sent my parents gifts. He FaceTimed my mom. He sent my mom, my dad, and my brother a gift. Like, I'm thinking, I'm a Detroit girl, so I'm thinking, like, what's the angle here? You know what I'm saying?
Like, you ain't coming back.
That's what he was on.
That was
no, I mean, like, kidnapped ain't coming back.
No, what do they call that?
When
you like buy them for something. A dowry.
Yeah, I don't know what he was on.
Tip royalty, man.
Right.
He was like
concubine.
He kept saying, he's like, you might not realize it now, but he's like, I'm a king, and I said,
okay.
Like, so he was gonna let us stay in the hotel for free. I was staying in Giza because I wanted to wake up to the pyramids. We stayed there 3 days, and then we transferred to a hotel in Cairo because we wanted to stay off the Nile River. He's like, no, you don't have to go to Cairo. Stay here. You don't pay nothing. I said, no, I have to go. He's like, I'll give you a car to take you wherever you want to go. I changed the direction of like where I wanted the car to take us. Everybody in the hotel, like, oh, I gotta call the boss. Like, we need to talk to him before we do anything. No, that's not safe. The fact that like I'm just some random girl traveling, minding my business, and okay, you give me this car to go someplace, but now like in order for me to make any move, everybody like 5 people picked up their phone to call the boss. Let me call the boss first. Now I'm gonna call Uber and get away from all of it.
So that was scary to you on some level?
In the moment it was extremely scary because I couldn't make a move in the hotel without somebody knowing.
Yeah.
I went to order pizza one night because they got Pizza Hut there. And we wanted pizza. We wanted American food. Like, come on, man. We just want some Pizza Hut. The girl gives me the phone to order. Next thing I know, the phone rings. And I'm like, the guy's speaking Arabic, and he's like, WTF. So I give her back the phone. She gives it back to me, and she's like, oh, that's him. He's like, you want pizza?
What?
Yeah, I was just like, my friend just is trying to get pizza, so we're going to order pizza. He's like, no. Like, I'll get her pizza, because he really wasn't feeling her at all. He's like, I'll get her pizza, and I'll get you something different. Like, we're going to do something special. And I was like, yeah, I'll get pizza, too. So, like,
so
the girl took the phone. He was like, get a phone back to her. Next thing I know, pizza came. First, he sent the chef down. He sent the chef down.
Look at the guys like, oh.
The ask is,
I gotta get my life.
Stuff ain't gonna never be the same.
You're gonna be irritated with every single
like, where
dude.
your chef at?
Right. You wanna go where?
You're not living in a car? What's this?
Is this
Man.
Put a lot of pressure
a
on
whole lot of pressure? But then, like,
It was
That's
fun.
amazing.
Yeah, that's a good experience to
I ain't had to
have.
pay for nothing. It was a good life. I'm back home.
Back to reality.
Right.
Dang.
He might fly you back out there though. Never know.
That's what he said.
Pluto.
He was like, I could live. He's like, you could come here. Because my friend asked him, like, what's your intentions? Because no, things were really just getting out of line. He was laying
You're
it
doing too
on.
much.
He, like, it was laying on. And he was like, I don't need nothing from her. Like, I got a visa. He's like, I got businesses everywhere. Like, I can come and go as I please. Like, don't think that this is something that, like, he's like, I like her. I was like, you don't know me.
Watch I go over there and meet the brokest thing.
One of them beggars on the street following you off.
Yeah.
Like, what's up, bro, boy?
yeah, we usually
Take a few.
yeah.
That sounds amazing.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Man.
Little Airbnb or something.
I got some immigration stories for back in the day.
Oh, okay.
They was trying to get you.
No, I used to work
no,
there.
it wasn't that extravagant, but I used to be an officer.
Okay.
So they was offering things.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
I'm like, oh, do tell.
No, just, you know, we can take some money there, and we can go build elsewhere and never have to come back or move as we please.
Tiffany got a husband over there, so she with it.
Dang.
Nah, that's dope.
Well,
Was
like,
he
10 weeks.
even like?
Attractive.
Did
is
you
that
like
what
him? Was he your age? What was
He's a little older than me.
What's a little older?
I know, like, he's still texting too.
Ooh. Did you
Yo,
give him some of that black sugar?
Absolutely not.
Whoa.
She wouldn't have came back.
That's simple.
I'm simply talking about.
No, he called me by my name, and he made me learn like Arabic words, which I don't remember how to say. Habibi. First of all,
my friend.
no, it's like my love, like my boo. You know, like.
Well, they invert it when they're talking to a guy.
Yeah, it's Habibi for him, and then he would call me Habibsi. I can't remember.
Here they just say Habibi to everybody.
Yeah.
Habibi, no.
Yeah. He taught me how to say I love you, and I kept saying it. Look, my friend was
Love
like,
in 3 days.
I'm like, he told me to say it, so I said it.
Goofy ass.
I don't know what to do.
You about to be somebody's concubine. You better quit playing.
That's gonna be a car outside.
Nice.
All black tinted windows.
Like, what the heck?
Y'all about to be the next coming to America too.
Look, what I gotta do.
No, that's beautiful.
I didn't have a bad time.
Well, clearly.
I did not.
So how was the Nile River? Did you put your foot in it?
I tried to, but no, it wasn't high enough. So I didn't want the hotel to think that I was trying to like kill myself or jump in. So I didn't.
And he would have had a fit.
Well, he was in Giza.
Oh,
This was at the Nile River was in Cairo. So it wasn't. You could see on the walls that the river wasn't as high as it typically is. And I tried as I might to touch that water. I just want to touch the water. Like it's all I want to do. But they had cameras everywhere, and they made it very clear, like you don't really need to be getting in the water. So
you didn't get in the water.
I didn't.
Didn't you say you were taking like a boat ride on it though?
Yeah, we took it on a cruise, but we wasn't in no paddle boat.
I didn't know.
A huge boat. Nah, no.
You flew out.
But I did go to Fridays on the Nile River.
What?
Yeah, yeah, it was good.
Fridays everywhere.
Yeah.
What?
Did you see at McDonald's?
Yeah, it was a bunch of McDonald's. It was KFC.
They have different things over there though.
Yeah.
You went and looked at the menu.
Yeah, the menu for Fridays was legit. It was like some type of spicy dish I had that was amazing.
Noted.
And we smoked shisha
At
Friday?
Friday.
on the Nile River.
She should just
So it was more laid back than what I'm thinking.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, cool.
It's not what you think that it's like an ultra conservative place, and it is.
Yeah, I was looking up things like what to wear, what not to wear.
I had my hair wrapped every day, and one of the guys was like, "Why do you have your hair wrapped up?" I was like,
I don't want you to beat me in the street.
I thought that's what I had to do.
Yeah.
And then he was like, "Yeah, no," but I'm like, "My hair's not done either, so this is
That's a win-win.
It's hot over here.
Yeah.
It gets really cold at night.
I figured that too.
It's just there's so many things I have to tell you.
Dang.
So many.
Well, to be continued.
Yeah, we've taken up way too much time.
Man, that's great.
On Cairo. But I think that to end it, I think that if you have the opportunity, don't be afraid of going. Go. It is life changing, and the pictures are amazing.
Yes, we'll have to see those.
All right.
That was my last trip to Shane. I got nothing on it.
You talking about Belize? Is that,
Oh, Belize
is that
is
what
nice.
you're talking about?
I mean, it's not Cairo.
I mean, it's still Belize though.
It ain't the same.
You still out here shining?
She got,
she got
I've been
fluid out.
I've been drinking water. I'm getting older. I need to get my life together.
She got fluid out. You got a
Yeah.
coconut drink
I mean,
that you paid for.
I didn't pay for it.
Oh,
Okay, right.
All right, don't trash Belize. I'm going there next month. So.
Table.
Yeah, fancy.
Let's see.
We not Egypt fancy.
I mean,
But moving on.
All right, so I kind of wanted to dive into the Revolt Summit that was this past weekend, and you all's thoughts on what was brought up. Did it change your way of thinking? Did it change you as a person? Are you like, what are you going to do different from the conversation that was invoked? Like, let's jump into it. For all of those that have not been able to watch the Revolt Summit panel, which I encourage everyone to go do. It had 6 people in there. It had T.I. Killer Mike, Candace Owens, Katrina Pearson, Tamika Mallory, and Stephen Paquette. And Stephen Paquette he started this new organization called Trap the Vote, and it's basically bringing awareness to Black people about voting. Like, there's a lot of things that we don't know. I know Aaron has spoke before about, trying to find different avenues to be more conscious and knowledgeable about this voting process, because there's a lot of things that we don't know. So that was the panel. They posed a lot of different questions. One of the first questions that he posed to the whole panel was, what is the single most issue facing African Americans in this election? And they had some interesting things. So I'm gonna go down and just kind of give you some bullet points of what everyone said, and then we can kind of just give me your insight. So Steve said how technology is drastically going to change the world. Candace said socialism and how we think it's something good, but it's not. And how what I got that she really hates the Democrats.
I got stuff to say. Go ahead.
She said what?
She basically just trashed the Democrats in that first part. Tip said homegrown terrorism, mass incarceration, and police brutality. Killer Mike said blacks have to become a bigger part of the economic structure. Tamika said no, we have no leadership. She also agrees with Trump and a lot of his beliefs, and she believes that he's done a lot more for the African American community than any other president. And then Katrina was basically saying that white supremacy is one of the biggest things that we are facing in this upcoming election. So the floor is open. Who wants to chime in first, right?
I'm just gonna start with what Katrina said, and I kind of agree with a mix of what Katrina said and what Killer Mike said. So Katrina talked about white supremacy being normalized, and so when we feel like it's normalized, it automatically puts us in a place where we feel less than. We don't feel like we're bringing power and knowledge to the table. Thus, we're not in a position to then to be put in a place of what Killer Mike said, where we have a part of the economic structure. So I think both of those things are important. Like, I would agree with both of them in terms of what comes to the forefront. We need to be a part of the economic structure. And if we continue this mindset that, white supremacy is normal, seeing them in power, they do things better, et cetera, then it's going to be hard for us to climb out of that and present ourselves as bringing something to the table.
Just to stop one moment, we just want to welcome Sid.P back to the table. Fashionably late. We appreciate your support. You know what I'm saying?
Always.
Black
Always.
Power,
How we
you know what I'm
doing?
saying?
All the power.
Do it for Wakanda. Lee, Sid,
What's up, brother? How you
we
doing?
over each other. We were talking about the Revolt Summit, and we
Great topic.
actually just started talking about it. And we were talking about the intro statements and who said what, and so it was just making that point. So continue.
I was done.
Oh,
and redirected, so I don't know if anybody remembers what I just said, but in a nutshell,
Introduce the person that come in the room.
in a nutshell, I talked about how I basically agree with Killer Mike and is it Katrina? That was the one on the end. Tamika, looking at how one of the things that's important is that it seems like white supremacy is being normalized, and also saying that we need to be a part of the economic structure. So I feel like those two kind of go hand in hand. If we continue to normalize white supremacy and the fact that they run a lot of stuff and thinking that they're better at it or their things are better, we don't put ourselves in a position to say, hey, we bring value, we need to be a part of the economic structure. So I think those two are key points in what's important moving forward.
Oh no, go ahead.
Well, I would have to say I think all of them had some valid points, but I would have to say behavior. So they talked about everything that exists, which is what we always talk about all the time, every election, but nobody talks about the behavior. So like, I'll give you an example. What's worse, the pusher or the user, right? So if you think about it, one person does drugs, and they can't do drugs if there's no pusher. But the person who pushed the drugs, if there's no user, he or she can't do. But you still have to ask yourself, which is worse? So if you change the behavior, you begin to change the process in which things work. The redlining, how they redistrict and call it gentrification. So, and which in my opinion is nothing more than just trying to secure a vote. I mean, I don't think it's much more than that. But if you can change your behavior, you can change the outcome of these different things. I mean, we talk about our spending power, but we don't talk about what we spend it on. So I think the behavior is the biggest thing, is the root of it.
Aaron?
I actually made some notes, but out of everyone, I agree with Killer Mike the most. I think he said like the realest thing I've heard in a long time, as far as like something we can actually, like something actionable, right? Like he said, like we're constantly talking about the issues in our culture, but we don't ever come up with like solutions on our own. Then when it's time to vote, it's kind of like, oh, we don't like you. We're just not going to vote at all. That like doesn't fix anything, right? So he proposed that basically, why don't like we all like have an agenda, like Black Panther Party had an agenda, right? Like they had like 10 points that they like went by consistently, right? Mm-hmm. Same concept, right? What are our 10 points of things that's important to us? And he said bring those things to our local, state, national officials or people running for office, and if you can't address at least some of these issues, then no, I won't vote for you. Now that to me is a reason not to vote. So he was talking about how important voting is, which I'm still all for, regardless of whether we do that or not, but that also gives us a chance to actually do something. Like you still hear my voice in the process because we all, I don't know, like I've been thinking about this for the last couple of days. Like that'd be so dope if we all had like a Black voting day, not necessarily for president or governor or things like that, literally like where we all go fill out our own form, right, however you get it, right, and we all tally up what's in rank, what's important to us. So when it's time to vote people in or they're running, hey, this is the Black vote. If you want it, these are our demands. So like that was one of the realest, and I think that's actually doable. They do polls for everything else. Why can't we poll what we want, right?
I more so lean towards T.I. and Killer Mike.
Yeah. T.I. has some good points too.
Because one thing that we do have to pay attention to is the homegrown terrorism. Like it's a lot of things happening here, and it's like you throw the rock and then hide your hand. It's a lot of things that we don't speak to, or it's a topic for today, or it's a headline for this week, and then it goes away. But if it was a foreign country that was doing the terrorism, it's the topic for the year. We're talking about it. We're starting wars. We're doing everything. So homegrown terrorism is something I think does need to be paid attention to. Of course, the mass incarceration system, and then police brutality. And then, like she was saying, what Killer Mike was saying, I'm all for, and I've always been for, trying to figure out how do we come together and start to support one another. Like that's been something I've been trying to figure out for the longest. Like we support everyone. It's been a proven fact that the Black dollar is very powerful. And until we figure that out and actually start, to use it to develop our own communities, it's not much. We're gonna keep it. It's like the hamster on the wheel. We're not gonna move anywhere. So
I think you got to do something to hurt them, though. The people.
Elaborate.
So, if I'm not mistaken, Killer Mike talked about when they are gunning us down in the street, let's attack their pension. We don't want.
That was a good idea.
Yeah, we don't want the money from the city or the state because they're going to pay for all these lawsuits. That cop is just going to get laid off and he's going to go find a private security job somewhere else making nearly as much. But if we attack that pension,
right,
and we attack the departments, now people begin to think about their personal livelihoods, right?
And they'll think twice.
Yeah, so it's all good as long as you don't look like me. But now when you have to suffer the way that I do, in the same way that I do, now you have to really think about what your wife is going to think, being a man, what your kids are going to think. And I think that when you go for someone finances, because that's power now. I mean, power used to be what, 6'5", 260. I can go hunt, I can shoot, I can fight. So my wife back in the day would have been happy with me. If I was a $110, probably not, because I probably couldn't go hunt or could fight or could protect anybody.
You get small game.
little rabbit.
Small game.
Baby, I got a cocoon, man.
Yeah.
Got a cocoon.
So what is power now? What does it look like? I remember when in the 90s, 50 grand a year used to be a decent amount of money. Right. Caddy, stay in there, some of these big houses.
Couple cars at home.
And
I like house.
Yeah.
Like the dollar bag of chips are like $1.89.
I brought one in last
I knew you was gonna bring that up.
That was like terrible.
It's like 5 chips in it.
Yeah, so, I mean, even the rep snacks went up.
Oh, God.
milk
With
is
a
like,
Gatorade.
in Hawaii, milk is like $5. And
Oh yeah, I mean they import everything.
and power is money now. Okay, if you can't play that game to
Tiffany
change that
had
game.
showed us that power.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
She's still
But to your point about what he was saying, and it seems like he was one of the main people up there who truly had a plan. And as it relates to police brutality, I also like how he talked about going after the judges. Like, once this happens, he said, you know, you don't like that they let this person off or they didn't sentence them. Okay, so now, next election, get that judge out of there. So now you're also putting a target on the judge's back. Like, when this stuff happens, if it gets through that cracks, now you're responsible for saying, like, hey, this wasn't fair, this wasn't right. So their punishment would be more severe. So he really had plans, and I like that idea. That was something that, you know, when you asked what's something that we would change, like, that's something that I would really look at doing moving forward. We haven't really had any cases like that here, per se, but, right, knock on wood.
I mean,
But in the event, like, I think that's huge,
right.
going after the judge, too,
Yeah.
because a
But
lot
that
of the
goes-
reason that happens is because they know, oh, well, I'm gonna get off anyway, because the good old boy on the stand is gonna be like, you good.
That goes back into voting though. We control things like this and the people don't go out and vote.
Well, I
You
think
gotta
a lot
not
of it
just
has
vote
to do
for a
with-
president. You know what I mean?
I think a lot of it has to do with. Sorry, and my biggest takeaway from the entire panel, I thought everybody had a lot of good points, except for the one light skinned dude on the end.
He's
Bless his heart.
he was
Did
so
not represent well for the light skinned fellas, I guess.
He seemed young. So.
I think
But,
I was like, why is he here?
Exactly.
he never answered the question.
He pushed
right.
trap the vote, which was great. That was it though.
That's
Like, yeah,
Maybe.
but go ahead.
But I think it all comes down to awareness and communication. And the awareness factor comes to, if you look at a lot of stuff that Mike, T.I., even Candace Owens and one girl, Katrina, Tamika Mallory, a lot of those things that they were talking about, a lot of people just aren't aware of those things, whether it had to do with our history, whether it had to do with politics, the U.S. Census, whatever the case may be. We just aren't very aware of the agendas that's being pushed in our communities. So we don't act on it. We just kind of sit back, fall back. We don't vote. We don't register. We don't do all these particular things that can make these changes. So we have to just put our ear to the streets. We know a lot about a lot of things that don't matter when it comes to fashion, music, TV shows. We have to take some time to do research about our history, the individuals in our history that was trying to push agendas for our communities, whether it be Malcolm, Martin, whoever, Elijah Muhammad, whoever, right? And having that awareness. And another part is communication, because I felt like Candace Owens, for instance, she made a lot of good points.
Yeah.
But people like her and Katrina, and you can go to Kanye or anyone that looks at that side of the spectrum and say, hey, Republicans are good. They're the worst communicators of all time.
You
They
got the
always
bad
do it
representative.
in the worst, like demeaning fashion.
Yes.
It's like, not only are you trying to push a negative agenda, but you're doing it in the worst way.
She came
You're
off
saying
very
something good,
yeah.
but you're trying to do it in the wrong way. There's nothing wrong with like being on the side of Republicans, and by no means, but you have to communicate it effectively. Yes.
She semi came off like
She came on
condescending.
swinging. Yeah.
Like,
yeah, exactly.
and
exactly.
it was kind of like, hey, I'm trying to let you fools know,
Mhm.
like, and I'm like, okay, I get it, but chill. She did say something that kind of made me think, though. She said that they're kind of like throwing the word racism around a lot. Like, once you call the Republican Party racist as a whole, red flag, I'm not voting for you, right? I'm black. I'm not going to vote for somebody you continue to call racist. I
Whether
actually
I
pay
think
attention to the
racist.
news, though, so I still think he's racist. But for all these other people who might not be aware when they just going off what they hear, and you just say, oh, that's the racist party, I'm not for that. No, I'm not voting for you. She was basically saying, like, okay, your Democratic Party is like basically playing mind games with you, and they're not concerned with anything that has anything to do with you, basically.
Yeah, but that's all.
She might be right.
Right? The
Hey,
Republican
she might
does
be
the same
right.
thing
Yeah.
for their base, because there's
Yeah.
a lot of Republicans that they just aren't in the tax bracket for being a
Yeah.
Republican to be beneficial for them, but they throw out those same type of jargons, immigration. There's
Mhm.
that version of racism on that side.
Yeah.
So it comes back to us being aware and just saying, well, let's put both parties to the side and focus on what we need in our communities and say, hey, if you want our vote, like to Killer Mike's point, if you want our vote, well, this is what we want. Handle your immigration, handle your whatever it is you want to do on this side, but this
If
is
you
what
want this
we
15% vote, this is what
Exactly.
you yeah.
But on the other side, we have to realize that it doesn't matter who gets elected. The effect on us will never be positive until we start having more effect the nation
right.
and our community. That's all on us. It's 50% them, 50% us.
Yeah.
To your point of the pusher and the user, it's everybody's fault. So the user has to eventually say, hey, I got to stop.
I would say it's not even 50-50. I think it's more so our responsibility.
Absolutely.
Because we have more control than what we think. You know what I mean? Like maybe not from a national standpoint or like, okay,
Within our own community.
That's what
Like
I mean.
if we have a black father issue, that's
we,
on us.
Right.
No politician
If we
gonna come
better
in
those
and say, hey,
things within every black community, like we would thrive regardless of who was president.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
So let me ask you a question real quick to everyone. So in your individual circles, do we have these type of conversations before election time?
Yeah.
Are we talking about politics locally, not even just nationally?
No.
Are we talking about local politics?
No.
Are we talking about, because I'm sure everyone probably not everyone stays in Detroit. So whatever municipal, Southfield, whatever, sometimes, like for instance, I stayed in Taylor for a long time. And literally I cared nothing about the local politics there because I didn't care. Like I wasn't trying to be there forever. I didn't care about.
You weren't invested.
I wasn't invested. So, and I'm glad you said that. That's a great point. So, are we invested enough in the places where we are? Let's just keep it on Detroit. The people that live in Detroit, do we believe your friends or family members are invested in the community enough to care? Because that's where it's going to start. Like we keep looking at the presidency and every 4 years we get everybody jump on the bandwagon and everybody got this, that, and the third to say, but it's a lot of stuff because I've learned that it's a lot of stuff the governor has control over on this state by himself, regardless of the president.
Herself.
No, I'm speaking. Yeah, herself. I'm speaking.
Auntie Gretchen alone.
So I can respond to that. I think racism has a parallel word, which is social class.
You got me too.
I did.
So I think racism has a parallel word called social class, right? And I read this book by Brother Lauren Valentine who speaks about socialism or social class. And I'm not sure where everyone grew up, but we grew up in
all came from the city.
So we grew up in a neighborhood, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we go to the neighborhood schools. And then I don't know how many of you are educators, but when I look at these test scores and I look at what they're being tested on, it's a different parallel to someone who goes to Cranbrook.
Yeah,
The amount of money those teachers make. So we have these issues, but we don't see the same issues. We see what's going on in the neighborhood. Let's take what happened to late brother Nipsey Hussle, right? One of the things that he was all about was going back to his neighborhood and empowering his people, right? Had a great plan. But brother from the Black Panthers,
Sid.P.
the revolution cannot be televised. If you know I'm from the neighborhood and I go back and I'm buying up everything and I'm putting people on, but there's one or two people who don't like me. They don't care what I'm doing.
Yeah.
They just don't want to see me win. So the social class is different because a lot of those poor white people, and there's more of them than it is of us, even wealthy rich white, they don't care about that because they don't have to come here. You listen to the music, you buy the music, you support it, you support the culture, but at the end of the day, you can go home and you don't look nothing like me. You don't have to worry about what I have to worry about. So we mass racism and we begin to look at social class, and that's how we begin to break down Democrats, Republicans. I mean, at some point, there were a lot of black Republicans, so it didn't matter. So you could talk about Black Wall Street, you could talk about all these different things, but we don't know what we need to know. These local votes, right? Maybe those people didn't have the insurance that they needed when Black Wall Street burned down, but I think you have to pay attention to those things. As much as I invest in my neighborhood, sometimes I just don't go back Like, there's nothing cool to me about being on the block all day with a bunch of my homeboys. I don't want to see them that long.
Facts. Facts.
100.
Facts.
We can have a drink, I can smoke my cigarette, y'all can do what y'all do. But I can't be around a bunch of dudes all day. It's annoying to me.
Why do you? Does anyone else want to answer my question before I pose another one? No. All right. Cool. So, why do you all think it's more people in the neighborhood that want to stay in the neighborhood than get out of the neighborhood?
We've
I
glamorized
think
it.
that it's
We've glamorized it. Oh, go ahead.
no. I think that why would I try to attain anything else? Like, I'm comfortable here. My mom's here. My grandma's here. Everybody I know has been here. Like, my view for the outside is like they may have been lucky to get out. They had different situations, but what do I need to attain more for when I'm comfortable where I am?
I'm glad you said that. So how is it that if you're comfortable where you are, when I come back or I come around, I sold out, I ain't this, I ain't that.
That's your personal problem for thinking that.
No, I'm not.
That hurt.
Oh, no, I'm not saying me.
You.
I'm not saying. No, I'm not
know.
saying.
When I
in
say
general.
you, I'm not talking about
That's
you.
that person.
I'm not
Right.
talking. Okay. So,
I think you were asking why do they feel that way?
why do the ones who stay there, and then in turn start to feel like, you sold out because you left, or when I come back and buy the block up or buy a couple of houses, they run right in behind me, and so on and so forth. So it's like, if you're cool where you are, and I'm not
It
saying
makes people face the reality that
It's envy.
where they are is for lack of better terms, it's not shit. You know what I mean?
It's
Like,
envy.
it-
I could have
it
did
makes-
better, but I didn't.
It makes you face your reality. So if everybody around me is the same, then I know that, like, oh, I'm good. Nobody's up here. We're all kind of right here. So when the person comes who's a bit higher, or who you perceive to be, because that's all perception, right? Who you perceive to be a bit higher, who's up here, now you have to face, like, well, I could have did. They're no different from me. I could have did this. So now you got to face the reality that you're now living a life that is unfulfilled.
That's why. Yeah, that's what I meant when I said that's your personal. That's a mental problem you have with yourself. Like, that's something it's a messed up mindset that you have.
And that mindset comes from you, like you said, it's realization.
That's
It's
self-imposed.
envy. It's like it's jealousy on some form.
So could it be said that a lot of our problems are that we move majorly on emotion?
Yeah. Well, I mean, some of it. I don't know.
I think
Yeah.
I think a lot of
Help me.
So like you said,
Yeah.
so like in a situation, in an altercation or in an argument, what's fueling that? Is it more emotional, or is it more logic, or is it
Well, it's I would say
Not
emotional, because if you look at it, like, to kind of go back to the beginning of your question, we glamorized being in the hood for a really long time, like ridiculous amount of time. We
Still
glamorized
kinda
our
do.
block, so this is my block. I own this block. We own the block. This is my corner.
The block is hot.
The block is
Which
hot.
your
We
mom's renting.
glamorized. Exactly. We have a pride over our street names for no reason at all. So there's 80% of us that have no problem being there. So from where the emotion comes in is that when we see people that's elevated, to your point, now it's a sense of, I messed up. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm looking around like, oh man, I gotta raise my kids around here, and you just go drive up in here in your BMW, go buy all these houses while we over here struggling. Nah, G. Nah, now I feel like you're throwing it in my
Drop
face.
down
So
on that.
now
You
I'm gonna
turn
drop
into a
down
white
on this
man.
fool.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like what was the I think I never watched the video of the dude that killed Nipsey, but I remember when Charlamagne was talking about, how much pain it looked like that dude was going through because he was so angry at something. And that's how we are. We just get so irrationally caught up in these feelings just because of the things that we went through in our lives, and we felt like, as black people, obviously we feel like we got shed on at some point, obviously at every point mostly. So we feel like everything that's happened to us and why we're here in these neighborhoods anyway wasn't our fault. Somebody let us down, whether it was the country, the president, our parents, and we're still here, so we're still carrying around those same emotions. So that leads to these dysfunctional and disgruntled actions that we end up doing to each other.
You just made me think of maybe that's the reason why we have like so much black on black violence. That's like the one thing you can control that might actually make you feel like you have some type of power. Like if you talk trash to me, I go get my gun, I shoot you. I have some feeling of power, right? I have some type of control over what just happened. Everything else I'm powerless, right? Black people feel like that all the time. So when you mix that lack of power, high emotions, I mean.
In grad school, I did my final project on the school to prison pipeline, and you get all these numbers about fathers not being in the household. So I had to tailor it to my life in particular. In my neighborhood that I lived in the longest, there were about 22 kids. Amongst the 22 kids, about 3 or 4 fathers, right? I take that back, about 3 fathers. 3 of those 22 kids with me and my 2 brothers, and my dad been involved my whole life. Out of all of the children, about 95, 96% of us had either been shot at, handcuffed, took to jail, dropped out of school, killed, on drugs, right? So you look at that, and then earlier I was talking about discipline, but a lot of your structural discipline comes from your father, naturally. Now, my mother got hands, so discredit her if she's watching this today. I knew if I did something out of line, she was gonna get at me. I knew it, and it was gonna hurt, and I wasn't gonna like it. But I was willing to take her ass whooping before I tried my daddy. So I tried my pops once. One time.
You woke up the next day?
So I'm gonna tell you, he didn't even touch me. What he did was, he said something smart that I didn't like. I was a teenager. I'm like, man, something. Whatever I said.
Right.
Don't even want to repeat it.
So I walk upstairs,
Still
and I'm pissed, right? I'm really pissed, and I don't get mad. I tried to slam my door, but I didn't turn around. I turned around, and I didn't hear it close.
Yeah. He was on you.
I know I slammed it hard enough because it was intentional, right? So I turned around, and my father's taller than me.
Jesus was right there.
He's taller than me. And I wasn't that big then, and he was like, "What you say?"
Your life flashed before your eyes.
I had 2 options.
Nothing, son.
Yeah. Or repeat what you said and
I
die.
had to get out. So there's the window, and then
I gotta go through him at the door.
and he's at the door. But naturally, I had the pleasure of experiencing that. So we talk about these generational emotions that we have, and then we push religion on people, and then we have that talk. And most church folk don't want to have this conversation, but my great grandfather is a pastor, and I would love to have this conversation with some pastors, but they probably won't have it with me. But let's take it all the way back. All of a sudden, you're a free slave now, right? You watch your wife mutilated in front of you. You've been beaten. Your kids have been taken from you. And then Wednesday or Friday, you're free.
Now what? Yeah.
Now what the hell I'm supposed to do? Now I'm thinking, even if you gave me 40 acres and a mule, who the hell am I sell to? Because everybody around me white. And they just gonna come take it. And you own everything already. So how can I be empowered enough? I only have one option, which is to steal or go back to master, right? So now I have to find my God, this emotion. Today, we don't like disrespect because we've been told these same stories over and over and over. All you do is get more pissed. People talk about I stopped watching slave movies, but I did watch Django Unchained. I was curious, right? See this brother right on the horse. I want to see how interesting Tarantino can make this movie from. So you begin to see this dynamic of a black man who isn't a dummy and a white guy who has some knowledge. And it wasn't the same old good old boy story. It was someone who didn't care about nothing but money. So a good old American story, right? Now he fucking everybody up because he want his wife. You know how you feel if somebody messing with your girl or your family or whatever. You need to get home. this is the first slave movie that I had seen with a brother fighting back. You can't tell me these big mammoths wasn't fighting back. You
They
can't.
were.
You can't. But I'm saying.
So you're saying the movies are
the way they portray
misrepresentation.
it. It's like, well, I'm in third grade watching Roots. What the fuck? What is this? This doesn't inspire me. It doesn't make me feel like I'm anything. And luckily, I had some parents around me.
Traps your mind.
Yeah, it corners you. Like, for instance, I've known Liggs before he became a brother of the fraternity. I like him. I like him for a reason. And he'll tell you, it's a lot of brothers that I don't like. I just don't.
Tell them.
And they know it.
Well, all right.
I don't like them.
Oh, they know it.
But he keeps me accountable, right? I used to have this mindset. I wanted to be the brother who gave all the connects, and then I learned later in my life that it wasn't always that way. But he always kept me accountable. What you doing? What you reading? What kind of moves you making? We went to the casino one day, and I was winning. Right? He was winning too, but I was winning. And then I lost like $10, right? I was still up, but I lost. He's like, man, let's go. First thing he said, stop.
Because I know one thing is he ain't only gambling $10, and if you had a casino with him, you ain't even gambling $10.
Well, I don't
He
like
only
the
lost.
He
He only lost
yeah,
$10.
the thing is, I don't
Gamble $10.
I don't like the gamble, but I start catching because I went down, then I went up, and then once I went up, he kind of looked at me. He was like, "No, let's go."
Time to go.
What's that? So most people ain't gonna keep you accountable that way, which is why I have so much love for him because he always keeps me accountable. Like he told me, start at 7:30 today.
No, I told you to be here.
No,
Not
I did.
7:30.
I got the text message, but he keeps me accountable. So we don't have enough people keeping us accountable, and someone is always angry about something. So most of these feelings are just that feelings. So if I can suppress the way I feel for a moment and think about my situation and what I can do, maybe redlining won't matter because if I own all of Brightmore now, I can restructure this the way I want to. I can put a Starbucks over here because I don't need to be over here. I can build another school. I don't need to live here. All you other people can move there. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
You made me think of Candace Owens, or what's the other girl name?
There's two of
The other Trump supporter.
Katrina.
Yeah. One of them was talking about these opportunity zones or whatever, and opportunity zones are basically like you get like tax breaks and stuff like that for opening up businesses and lower income communities, right? So yeah, that's all fine and dandy, right? Like, but T.I. made the perfect point, like, who are the people that are able to take advantage of these opportunity zones, right? Black people don't have no money to put into a business, to put in their low income area, right? Not everybody.
We got a pool, right? We have it. We absolutely have it.
But it takes 20 of us?
Whatever it takes, right?
See, and we don't
At
think
the end
like
of the
that,
day,
right?
whatever
we don't
it
think
takes.
I know
like
we
that.
was
You want
supposed to
everything
talk-
by
If you're
yourself.
gonna keep complaining, then at
Right.
some point it's whatever it takes. So if that
We
means
were-
it's 5, 10 of us, if we only get a small amount of it off that one business, but we keep
Right.
going and going and going. I mean, that's what the Latino community did, the Jewish community did, the Chinese
Asian,
community did, the Asian community did. That one Chinese spot, they pitched in on that damn thing, and then they started opening Chinese spots all over the place. And then
Same thing, I know we were supposed to get to that too, Lorenz Tate, said in his interview on the Breakfast Club, saying he's like all about groupism. He said like, you know, like another race will like have 30 of them in one home. You know what I mean? So they can all get this business up and running. Black people don't think like that. I'm guilty of that too. You know what I mean? Like every black person want their own thing. You know what I mean? Like I don't wanna go in with 15 of y'all. I want, you know, my own thing.
And,
Right.
and devaluing ourselves, like, well, I don't trust that y'all gonna come through, or you know, I'm not.
But that comes from a different place, though. That comes from experience. Like, you know, we've all tried to patronize our own, and we've all had some good experience, and we've all had some bad experiences. The problem is that we let the bad experience stand out more
and dictate our moves.
Right. So always the way to go. However, unfortunately, this time has gotten away from us. So we're gonna have to do a part 2 to this. Yeah, this time is really. I mean, it was a good time.
I had notes.
Man,
Like,
I got about 4 pages.
Time has got away from us. So,
Gives me time to watch.
After hours coming up, y'all. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Last time we did
So-
after hours, it was.
yeah. So yeah,
We need to do that again.
we'll definitely do a part 2 to this. It's a lot more things that we had to discuss. So I just want to give everyone an opportunity to kind of give their last words or last comments, and then we're gonna get up out of here. Anything else you want to say on the topic? I wasn't starting with you.
There's no need to come to me.
I was.
She was like,
I would like to put it on record though that I have not been here, so I didn't.
She hasn't been in the U.S.
Yeah, I didn't have the
Where
opportunity.
were you again?
to-
Oh, okay. So Lee, anything you want to say final?
I just wish everyone well and dealing in the field of behavior. If we can change our behavior, I think we can change our dynamics. Oh, I'm sorry. Catch some of that.
Yeah, we got see it.
I would say, in the momentum of everything we're learning, awareness, research, know what's going on in your communities, with your people, to your point about the slave movies. Know what actually happened in history that's going to change your trajectory and your perception of what we need to do moving forward.
not just movies, read a book. I guess that could be my 1A. 1B would be, I don't know, do something in your community. I'm also talking to myself. I'm not pointing the finger at anyone. I'm just saying, I don't know, go to a city council meeting for a change. You know what I mean? Like, do one thing that's literally like making you a little bit more active within your community. And I'm gonna make that effort too.
What are you gonna do?
I'm gonna find out. I'm gonna actually. The first thing I thought of was like, okay, I actually know. Brenda Jones. Why not go to a meeting? Like, I don't know why. I have not one good reason why I haven't been to a city council meeting. I live in Detroit. I'm gonna go to one. I'm gonna find out when one is, and I'll go.
I agree with everyone. Do your research and then jump into action. I think that one big thing I took from watching the summit, watching these interviews, is that there are things that can be done. We've been doing a lot of talking. Killer Mike and T.I. talked about how when they talked to Dick Gregory, he was like, why are y'all still just marching? Like, we did that already. It's time to do something else. So just jump into action. If you didn't know what to do, like, that was a perfect thing to watch. They gave you some ideas on what to do. Attend these city council meetings. Learn who is in charge around you and put together a plan, put together some demands. I think that is very important. We have enough time to do it as a people, and we really need to consider doing that.
Honestly, considering the fact that we don't vote until like a year from now. So
Yeah, we have enough
we actually have time to actually do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I've been thinking about that every day, but yeah, I'm sorry.
If you got something else to say, we still got.
I have a question to pose.
Mhm.
I think that like the level that we're at, like everybody here is educated.
Mhm.
The viewership pretty much is an educated group of people. I think that we have the capabilities to be active, but I think that we also need the people who may be, and I don't want to say like below, but the people who are
not traditionally educated.
correct. How do we
in the hood,
but who are affected the most
right
by voting? Like,
right.
how do we
get
reach
their
out to
attention?
care?
That was the point that Tamika made, that we have our own, and to speak to what you said, we have our own classism within our people, and it's like we're not talking to the strippers or the scammers or whomever else, the dope boy. It's like we need to educate them too, or at least reach out to them, make them aware, put things in place that they may be interested in coming into, so that they can hear about this stuff. Because
Whoa, I'm only on the first season.
But
we know the story, though, right?
It's definitely a history lesson, and if you pay attention to the main character's character a great deal, you can see yourself in the character, whether you're a man or a woman.
Or Jeff.
Or Jeff.
What?
Yikes.
What they talking about?
We still need to talk about.
Yeah, go ahead and finish your thought.
Man, listen, I got some stuff from the federal government when I worked there and what I do now. So I got some stuff that I could talk about all day. But how I want to talk about it, the anger that comes with it, I'm not sure if I have to figure out how I need to present it. Because if I tell a lot of parents, which in our case, in our neighborhoods in the city of Detroit, it's a lot of these kids who only live with mom, right? So if I told every mother about the school to prison pipeline and what it really looks like and pointed out some things, I don't think they'll receive it the way that I would like them to. Maybe if Barack said it, the inspirational voice, if I could find that.
Work on your delivery.
Yeah, maybe if I could find that voice, it may sound good, but
Get Sydney to say.
but I
Wow.
you know, I need, the conversation needs to be had and dynamics need to be changed. So when I figure that out, then I'll engage in it more, or it may just come out how it comes out. So if you invite me back, I'll talk about it.
I would love to
You have
hear it.
something I'm
I would
very
love to
interested in.
hear it.
Because doesn't it start like in the 3rd grade?
Oh yeah, they building prisons off those test scores.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah,
Right, it
so
starts
yeah.
very
So,
So this is
um,
my last fashion.
well, I guess my final thought is, I guess just get educated, and it starts with one person. If anyone listening, you know, you feel a certain type of way about something, we need to start having, you know, these conversations. This was really one of the reasons why this platform was created, to start to invoke conversation, for us to be, you know, more knowledgeable about what's going on, so we can start to legitimately do something. So communicate, educate, and move forward. But that has been our time. I appreciate everyone coming in and being with us. I appreciate all the viewers that, you know, continue to lock in with us every Thursday. And like I said, anything that you all have or want to hear or want to say, please jump in, jump on the live, whatever, DM us or whatever the case may be, and we'll talk about it. We'll get it going. However, this is me, your man, Jay Liggs. This is the Culture Cure. This is the Culture, so be a part of the cure. Peace.